Hi, Lee. The computer guy from the diner is back to talk to you about that wonderful play you guys put together. I saw it yesterday. It was nice meeting you again. I'm going to give you some feedback on the play. I'm not a musician. I'm not a writer. I didn't even study an instrument in high school. I went to yeshiva. We didn't have any instruments. I really had a wonderful time. I want to share with you what I loved about it, and what a suggestion or two. I wrote some notes. I'm only kidding. It's a blank page. So what I liked was the sweetness of it. The singing was fantastic. It was so improv-like. Also, the acting. The audience was rapt. They were like staring. They didn't want to clap. That was one thing about the play. When do you clap when you hear such wonderful music? When I was watching it, I said to myself, I wish I could tape it on my phone. I realized that was the wrong thing to do. Why? Because such a wonderful performance, there should be a record of it. Somehow, maybe someday, so people could see or hear what a wonderful show it was. Now, I got to watching it, I said, this is like a classic that should be played. Can be high school kids, college kids. They could have this wonderful script, wonderful songs. What a great historical record of these great composers. But here comes my first comment. There was a lot of, not a lot of, but a little bit of a couple of shits, I think, or I don't know, some foul language. I'm not a prude. I love foul language, but I thought, how can a kid come? How can a 10-year-old kid come, or a 12-year-old child, and watch this magnificent play with great music? So that's the first thing. In my heart, I think, if you find a way to tone it down a little bit, the language. The other thing is, I really liked the Judaism part of it. In fact, you said L'chaim at the end. I think a little more of that. How did Berlin feel about, and Harold Arlen about Jewish issues? Jews like to hear that. This is Jew does anyway. I love how as I said before, it was so fresh. The way you guys did it, it was like the first time. What else? That's about it. I really liked it, and as I said before, it could be a classic. How many plays do we have around musicals? We have music for 3 guys to sing. It's a fantastic opportunity for to be around for a long time. It's a beautiful piece of work. Lee, a couple of final thoughts that I wanted to drop in this little video. That the friendship between those guys, between Harold Arlen, Irving Berlin, Jimmy Van Heusen, it was very touching. But I was thinking, here they are on Christmas Eve. Where is their family? It was a sadness that I felt watching it. Where's Harold Arlen? It's a sad thing. His wife's in a mental institution, and Irving Berlin. It's just sad. It's wonderful they had each other, but that's another takeaway from me. How important it is to appreciate your family, appreciate your wife. That's an undercurrent that I really liked. I really loved it at the play. Again, Mazel Tov. Another couple of comments about the play. They're more serious this time. I was really affected or touched by the subject of mental illness in the play. The mental illness of a loved one, and how they're not in your life, and they're in the hospital on a holiday. And and they can't seem to get out of the hospital. What the family goes through, and also it was amusing. They try and get out of the hospital, like a Marx Brothers routine. That particular part, and then how do you deal with unhappiness and sadness? And so Jimmy has the bottle. He's the boozer. Well, the Jewish guys, I don't know what they were doing. So some pretty serious stuff in the play. And also, I thought, for me, sitting in that audience for seemed like an hour and a half almost. Maybe some kind of a break is needed, where the Act 1 sort of describes the problem a little more, and what is the solution to what those guys are going through, the camaraderie of it all, which I think is a solution, that sense of community, which we all need, which is another important part of the play. These guys really enjoy their company of each other. So those are my absolute final thoughts. Once again, shalom.